Hi everyone, it's Arissa and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going back to basics. We are talking about what products you will need to start a makeup collection. And I wanted to do this video for the people out there who maybe haven't been wearing makeup up until this point and you're getting ready to attend a wedding or attend some type of big event, or maybe all of a sudden you are just interested in makeup, but it can be very overwhelming when you go into the store. There's so much makeup out there and it's really tough to know where to begin. So I want to get really down to the basics, the essentials, the things that you could start off with, and what's the easiest way to get into makeup. What are things that are very easy to apply? So that's what I'm focusing on here today, things that aren't going to make you look really cakey and like you really have makeup on, but just kind of like naturally enhancing your features. And of course it's all relative, it depends on what your needs are and what your budget is, but these are products that I would like to recommend for those of you who are starting a collection. So the way I broke this down is I'm gonna have my top 5 things that you can go to the store and get right now, and I wanted to start with 5 because I thought it'd be a little bit more realistic to think that you can spend the money to maybe get up to 5 things rather than telling you about a dozen things to go out and get at one time. And if you hear squeaky toys, I have my dogs right here with me. So after we go over the top 5, I have 5 more things to add to the collection, and that could be the second go around at the store, or if you want to go ahead and get all 10, that's great too. Or if you just from here want to choose what you're looking for, maybe you already started a collection but you're missing a bronzer or you're missing a primer, then I'm going to break those down for you. Almost all the products that I'm going to talk about today are from the drugstore. I just figured that would be more realistic in terms of budget, especially if you're going to be going out to buy multiple things. So we're going to start off with my number 1 recommendation, and it is actually not foundation, it is concealer. So my recommendation from the drugstore that I think could be universally friendly is the Maybelline Better Skin Concealer. When you're starting off with makeup and you don't really have any background in makeup, it's kind of difficult to go straight into the foundation. You could end up looking really cakey and heavy, and it could also feel heavy on the skin. Whereas with a concealer, you can focus on the trouble spots, maybe just the under eye area or some blemishes here and there. That way you don't feel like you have to put a product all over your skin, which could be a little intimidating, and you can take this doe foot applicator and just focus it on those areas where you need a little extra coverage. So my next recommendation is going to be powder, because once you put on that concealer, you're going to want to set it so that it will last all day. And my recommendation for anybody is Neutrogena Shine Control Powder. This one to me is universal because it's a very lightweight powder. It does mattify your skin, but I don't think it's too drying. I've been using this for many, many years. You could apply this with a sponge, you could apply it with a brush. There are many different ways you could use this, and it never looks cakey on my skin. Now that you've covered up your trouble areas with concealer and set it with powder, you want to add a little bit of life back to your face or add some color, and that's where the blush comes in. So I am going to be selecting one blush that I find to be pretty universal across the board. It's a cult classic and it's for a good reason. It is Milani's Baked Blush in Luminoso. I recently did my updated makeup collection video, and some of you were so shocked that I didn't have any Milani baked blushes in my collection. Well, I'm kind of getting to the point now, as I'm starting to film again, I'm realizing that I really do need to have these basics back in my collection, especially if I'm going to be recommending them and talking about them. I want to hold them in my hand, and I know that Milani baked blushes are great and a really nice way to get into blushes. It's a peach shade and you can really start light and build it up. And so many other blushes have come out since this first came out, but I still think that this is a great go-to blush. If this is a shade that you think is not really speaking to you, it might not suit you, then take a look at the other baked blushes by Milani. There is also a pink if you want to go for more of a cool tone pink shade, but I do think this peach shade is universally friendly. My next recommendation would be to grab a mascara, and my current favorite mascara is the one from Maybelline called the Colossal Big Shot, and it's the waterproof formula. I also have it in the shade shade very black. There are several shades to choose from. I think a great entry-level mascara would be a brown color because it's not too harsh, it's easy to just kind of test it out and get used to the idea of wearing mascara. And when it comes to finding the mascara for you, it really is trial and error. I've gone through so many different drugstore mascaras to find one that holds the curl of my lashes because my lashes are very much stick straight. And that's where a lash curler like this would come into play. If you guys want me to expand on this and make it a series and you want me to do a beginner's guide and focus on the tools like lash curler and makeup brushes, let me know. And my last product to round out the top 5, if you're gonna go to the store right now and get 5 things, this would be the last one, and it is the e.l.f. brow pencil. Basically, I would recommend getting a brow product. This is the one that I just happen to like right now. I think that going in with a pencil would be an easy way to go over getting a powder. I love this pencil because you don't have to sharpen it, and it has an awesome spoolie on this end, so you'll basically go in and fill in your brow and then take the spoolie and just brush it through. And the spoolie really does work to distribute the product evenly, and just go in with a really light hand and just slowly build it up. Don't draw on your brow, but just in little strokes, just start to fill in your brow and then just take the spoolie and just go back and forth, basically like this and like this. I'm basically like a boomerang right now. So yeah, that is my top 5 if you were to run to the store right now and grab a few things. The brow pencil, concealer, the powder, blush, and mascara. I also think that those are the basics for a no makeup look for those of us who sometimes maybe on a weekend you want to just spruce yourself up a little bit but you don't really want to look like you're wearing a ton of makeup. I think those are the products that have you covered to just enhance your features a little bit. So now I'm going to get into my other 5 products to make it a top 10 for the day. So this is if you want to go back to the store another time, get 5 more things, or maybe every time you go to the store you get 1 new thing and you just build on that. That's okay too. So this is the only category where I'm not going to have something from the drugstore. I really thought about this. I almost didn't include this in my top 10, but I thought skin is really important and I almost had an eyeliner in here instead. But I decided to go with a face primer. And the reason why I don't have a drugstore one in here is because I wanted to be honest with you guys, and I don't have a drugstore favorite primer right now. There's not one that really screams to me to the point that I would like to recommend it. I'm still out there looking for a new primer that I could get on board with. I actually just picked one up from NYX that I'm going to try out. But if you guys have a favorite drugstore primer, please leave it in a comment below. I would love to try it out. So the 2 that I want to recommend today are Too Faced Hangover and Benefit POREfessional. And I also think that if you're going to invest in something out of this top 10, a primer is really good because you want to make sure that everything sits on your skin well, and the primer can play a big part in that. If you don't want to get into primers just yet, I think it's also okay to really focus on your skincare and making sure that you are moisturizing your skin really well and your skin is hydrated. But if you are in the market for a face primer, I really like Too Faced Hangover for added hydration. I have oily skin, but I still love to go in with a hydrating primer. The other one is Benefit POREfessional, and this is for those of us who have really enlarged pores in this area, like it's really obvious. And my experience with this is you're still gonna see my pores. Like I still have pores all around my nose area, like under my eyes, but it is a lot less noticeable when I use this. And sometimes I will go in with both. I'll start off with the hydration and then add this to blur my pores a little bit, and then I'll apply my face product, whether that's just going directly with concealer or applying foundation. So a great way to go about this is to buy the travel version of these. So if you go to like the checkout area of an Ulta or a Sephora, they're gonna have travel sizes of this for a lot less money, and that's a great way to check it out. So now this is where we get into the foundation. I have 2 recommendations here. One is actually not a foundation, it's a BB cream. So instead of foundation, maybe I should say face product, like an all-over face product. So the first one is a foundation. It is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow. And I wanted to recommend something like this, which is a little bit more of a light to medium coverage foundation, which means that you put 1 layer all over your face and you're still gonna be able to see your freckles and different trouble areas, but I think it's a little bit more natural that way, and you can build it up by adding additional layers. Another one that I like is called Revlon Color Stay, but that one is way more full coverage. That one layer that you put on is enough. And it could get a little cakey and it could be a little intimidating when you're blending it in and you're new to makeup. And it could look really heavy on the skin. So I suggest going with something lighter like this and building it up and getting used to it first. My other recommendation is a BB cream, and this is the Garnier BB cream. It's the 5-in-1 Miracle Skin Perfector for oily to combination skin, and I use it in light to medium. I do think that a great way to start your makeup collection is to get into BB creams first. But the shade selection in this is so awful that I wanted to also talk about this. So this one only has, I believe, 2 shades. This is light medium, and then they have a deeper one. This is the one for oily to combination skin. They also have one that is anti-aging, and that one will have 2 shades as well. And it's just so awful how they're really lacking in that department with the shades. And actually for the longest time, I stopped using this because it was actually a little too dark for me. So I think in the winter, this doesn't work for me. The light to medium is too deep because I get pretty pale. Right now, it's okay, it's working for me, and I ended up repurchasing this. So this was an old favorite of mine, if you guys remember from my channel back in the day. I loved this BB cream from Garnier. So with a BB cream, it does have added benefits for your skin. This one is also SPF 20, and this one is SPF 15. I am oily, but I still use Pro Glow. They have a Pro Matte if you want to look into that, but the Pro Matte actually made my skin break out and it didn't agree with me, so that's why I went with Pro Glow, and fortunately it worked out for me. Even though I do have oily skin, it's not too much for me, it's not too dewy, especially because I set it. If you guys also have your drugstore recommendations, or maybe even a high-end one that you think is a great beginner-friendly foundation or a BB cream, please leave it in a comment below. I love to read it. Next on the list is a lip product, and the reason why I didn't have a lip product in my top 5 is because I think you can get away with not having one if you have a tinted lip balm or you're just wearing a lip balm. I think it's fine, really. I mean, I went through so many years without wearing a lip product. I just wore tinted lip balms. But if you're looking to expand and you want to add a little bit more color to your life, then my recommendation in a very user-friendly format would be the L'Oreal Color Riche Shine Lipsticks, and they come in this clear packaging. They are a newer product, so I can't guarantee that these are going to be around forever because L'Oreal is pretty known for switching out their lip products over the years. Like, a lot of them get discontinued. So I'm going to mention another thing right after this that is a little bit more permanent. I can really only speak for 2 shades here that I'm going to recommend, and I say that because I picked up a 3rd shade and I didn't like it. It was Shining Peach, and that one really accentuated the patchiness on my lips that I didn't even know I had. Just kind of like sat on top, and it just didn't look very good. So I don't recommend Shining Peach. For me, just the 2 shades that I love are Burnish Blush and Glossy Fawn, which is what I'm wearing right now. And because those lip products are really new, and I don't know if someone watches this years from now that's still available, I'm gonna also talk about Milani's lipsticks. I love Milani lipsticks. These 2 shades happen to be Naked and Honey Rose. These are beautiful nudes and almost what you would consider a My Lips but better color. Like, if you put it on, it's almost like it just enhances your natural lip color. My favorite lipstick I actually don't have here because I have it in my handbag, but it is called Matte Naked from this line, Matte Naked. So there's a Naked, normal naked, but then there's also a matte naked, which is my favorite. My suggestion would be just to go into the store. I would say you'd have to go to like a CVS or certain Targets carry Milani and just look at all the different colors that they have. But I will warn you right now that the ones that are not matte, the normal ones, do have a pretty strong fruity scent. It's almost like watermelon. And then the matte ones have a vanilla or more of like a cake scent. Next is eyeshadow. It took a long time to get to eyeshadow because I think that's something that you really get into kind of like down the road and not right up front in the beginning, at least for me. but my recommendation from the drugstore would be the Wet n Wild Nude Awakening palette. I just got into this in the last couple months and I do really like it. I also think that it's very versatile. There's a really nice range here where you can go with a very light eye if you just focus on shades over here, but then you can get pretty dark and smoky. So over time, when you develop your sense of what works for you in your eyes, you can still use the same palette and kind of dabble into different parts of it. So I used this one today. I really like it. I think it blends very nicely, and I was a little skeptical at first because Wet n Wild did reformulate and repackage their eyeshadow palettes, but this one is brand new. They didn't have Nude Awakening before, and sometimes if you want to go with a really simple one eyeshadow look with just a wash of color across the lid, you can go in with something like this, which is like a champagne, or you can go with the pink or the cream color over here. I do want to include one more as an honorable mention, because if you're maybe going to an Ulta and you're able to get a mix of drugstore and high-end, this is a basic eyeshadow palette that I definitely recommend for a beginner, and it is the Urban Decay Naked Basics palette. This is as basic as anyone could possibly get. I mean, really, there's not a lot going on in here, but I think these are so easy to work with. I love using this on the go for travel, and it's a very user-friendly palette if you're just starting out in makeup. And my final spot here today is gonna go to a bronzer. And I'm pretty sure you guys can guess it if you watch my videos before. It's going to be Physicians Formula's Butter Bronzer. This one has a really tropical scent to it, so if you're very sensitive to scents, I don't recommend this. It's very strong, but it puts me in such a good vacation mood every time I use this. It smells so good to me. This one is very easy to blend, so if you're gonna get into bronzer, I think this is a great way to start. I did include it as my final thing because I think that when you're starting off with makeup, bronzer isn't really the first thing you think about. It's kind of something that you get into down the road. At least for me, it took me a while just to get to blush, let alone bronzer. So if you're at the point now where you want to dabble into bronzer, especially in the summer, that is one that I highly recommend. The nice thing about this shade bronzer is it's great as a contour. So if you want to get into kind of slimming down your face a little bit and adding it right in here, it's great. But you could also just warm up the face and stick to the perimeter. And it has a nice warmth to it, but it doesn't look orange. A little goes a long way, in my opinion. Don't go too harsh with it. Just stick to a very light, fluffy brush. I will end up getting into brushes, I believe, because the more I talk about this stuff, I'm like, I have to do a separate video on beginner brushes. So I really do think that's a great bronzer for a beginner, and even if you're not a beginner, maybe if you're wondering if the hype was real with that one, I really do think so. And that is the end of my list of 10 products that I recommend to start your makeup collection. And keep in mind that these are just my opinion, and not all products are going to work for every single person. And if you guys have your own recommendations, please leave them in a comment below. And if you also want me to expand on this and make it a series with the beginner's guide to makeup brushes, makeup tools, and getting into more categories, I would love to do that. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're interested to see more. I post videos every Sunday and Thursday, which means I will see you guys again on Thursday. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching. Bye.